You're watching the Weather Channel. Weather you can always turn to for accurate, dependable weather forecasts 24 hours a day.
At the latest snow tallies across the Northeast, also the Northwest. It's a wet season. You need some rain and snow. I think you're going to get it the next couple of days. First of all, let's check out the latest information that we have across the Northeast United States. These are the final tallies. Along the southern New England coast, upwards of a foot, 13, 14 inches of snow fell. In fact, New York City was the bullseye, really, of 13 to around 18 inches of snow. Baltimore about 4 inches of sleet. So this is the way it looked from yesterday's big storm. Closer on in, focusing into New York City, most of New York City picked up anywhere from 9 to 12 inches. The heaviest area near the Bronx, officially 1 foot there. Over at the Park, 13 inches officially reported, and Newark about 18, 19 inches. So the heaviest snow actually fell in town and just to the west of town. Our satellite photograph this evening showing the clouds racing eastward and the moisture heading northward again. So the freezing drizzle in Baltimore and Washington, now Philadelphia, heading up toward New York City. In fact, just enough cold air around New York City where it's probably going to be snow, sleet, and freezing rain again. Only about 1 inch expected this time, though. Boston, you might see 1 to 2. Chicago, some snow today, especially your northern and western suburbs. That came from a snowstorm that developed in Colorado, and that was yesterday. Look at the beautiful scenes from Colorado, Denver area, heading across 70. Well, that's the way you head across the state. And going skiing, well, it was a little tricky because the Colorado State Patrol urged to be extremely careful traveling around Colorado. 70 was clear, but many roads were not because of about a foot of snow that fell across the ski resorts. Meanwhile, in the Northwest,
the Southeast, while soggy is the only word to describe parts of the West. What the story is where you are, coming up.
And the country of Indonesia digs through the rubble and braces for more aftershocks after one devastating earthquake. Details next on the Weather Channel. The big thaw is on, but so is the big thaw soggy. Good evening, I'm Terry Smith.
And I'm Janetta Jones. Lots of folks in the East are enjoying spring-like weather. Terry and I have just been talking about how nice it's been, while folks in the West are not enjoying it quite so much because they've got a wet pattern. Southern Californians were bracing for another blow from Mother Nature last night. Before the heavy rains hit, many people in and around Malibu were busy sandbagging, also barricading their homes. City officials urged some residents to evacuate, but most didn't have to be forced. It was just last week when a wall of mud cascaded into their area.
Up the coast and into San Francisco, the story last night was similar as far as the rain goes. While Northern Californians didn't have to worry about mudslides, the hurricane-force winds were enough to keep them on edge. Winds gusted up to 76 miles an hour along the coast, and that continued right on into the day today. Along with heavy rain, gusty winds, fell some heavy snow and hail up to 2 to 3 inches deep in Madeira in California. Well, let's check out some of those rainfall totals that we've seen thus far. And many places in California have picked up an inch or 2 or 3 or 5 if you live in the Three Peaks area. And believe it or not, the majority of the energy with this particular storm has already worked its way on into Nevada. Things are beginning to improve around the
does not necessarily mean good news in all instances. That's the case in Hartford, where huge ice chunks traveling down the melting Connecticut River could do major damage. Engineers were concerned that the Founders Bridge would not be able to withstand being buffeted by the ice. Crews are currently working round the clock to reinforce the bridge. That particular bridge spans the river between Hartford and East Hartford. Last week's ice storm has taken a heavy toll on the Blue Ridge Parkway in Roanoke, Virginia. Park officials say the 470-mile scenic roadway looks like a war zone. Officials have closed almost the entire parkway. The hardest hit area was Bent Mountain in Floyd County, where 100 or more trees have fallen across the road. This time last week, Memphis, Tennessee looked more like a war zone than a winter wonderland. Blame it on the ice. Several inches of it covered just about everything. But let's take it to present day and see what a difference a week makes. The weather today in Elvis's hometown was absolutely beautiful. I doubt if we'd hear any complaints about the 70-degree temperatures. A heavy surf advisory